Good morning, New Zealand and the world. Lucas Lawmans here on your Sunday morning on Kiwi Voice. Hope you've all had an awesome week. It's been some time since we've caught up with a live, so we've got a bit of a news roundup, what I think is notable over the last couple of weeks. But before we dive into all of that, we'll wait for a few people to get on. It's a gorgeous day here in Christchurch, and it's going to be an awesome one by the looks of it around large parts of the country, around 24 degrees today. It's been a nice cruisy weekend with the children, myself here. Daddy-daughter time last night, which was great. Good morning, Gail. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. So yeah, we've, as the title suggests, we're going to be taking a look at some of the political news over the last couple of weeks with a bit of commentary, the usual reference to various news sources, and see how we get on. So yeah, been a wee while. Work and life has taken hold and taken precedence over the last week or so with Kiwi Voice. But here we are. So good morning with a nice coffee or whatever it is you may be having on this Sunday. Alrighty, we've got a few peeps on, so we'll dive into it. There is a bit to get through with my usual commentary as well. So if you're enjoying what you're seeing, by all means, get amongst the conversation below. Share these links around. If you appreciate what it is that Kiwi Voice does, you've got the option to hit send stars there on any of our live streams or other videos. Where you can purchase star packets from Facebook and then send whatever you feel like through to us. Otherwise, does not matter. I just love doing this and appreciate having you all here. Good morning to everyone that has jumped on. So let's get into it. Amanda Kropp at Stuff has written an interesting report around the MIQ system, I've noticed, and more specifically, the fact that 7 hotels are under contract to provide managed isolation and quarantine services at the drop of a hat, should they be requested to do so. As reported, if there is an urgent need to reintroduce border restrictions. So on standby, you could say, keeping them in the back pocket for use of managed isolation, quarantine. Now, immediately, before even delving into the story itself, past that first paragraph, I have questions. Have we learned nothing over the last couple of years? Is it now not clear, then obvious, that MIQ was a social, scientific, and economic disaster? Why would it ever be needed again? We've never needed such a thing in the past, knowing what we know now as well. So let me know in the comments below whether you think I'm being too simplistic here, or you think otherwise. Open to any ideals. Of course, here at Kiwi Voice, all about free speech, but I am wondering whether we should have ever had it in the first place, and I thought that was the general consensus. Let me know what you think. The powers required to re-implement state-ordered quarantine and or isolation are what will remain in the COVID emergency power legislation. That has been requested to be extended through to 2025. This follows the age-old adage that once power is gained, it is rarely relinquished by governments. Although all other draconian powers gained under the emergency bill have now reportedly been removed from the legislation that's being extended, the fact that the bill still exists at all, and Matt King's a vocal proponent of this theory as well, means they can be brought back in under this legislation at any point. So it's absolutely worth keeping an eye on. Thanks for the additional people that have jumped on. Awesome to see the conversation getting going there as well. The details around the plan to keep these hotels ready, Amanda Kropp reports, under a readiness plan developed by the Ministry of Business, Immigration and Employment, that's MBIE. 7 hotels out of the 32 that previously operated as MIQ facilities have signed contracts to provide about 1,250 MIQ rooms, should they be required. MBIE General Manager of MIQ, they have one, Shane Gray, said this would bridge the gap between the wind down in MIQ facilities and any investment in permanent MIQ facilities due to be discussed by Cabinet in November. So I found that rather interesting. It's on the agenda for November for Cabinet to discuss permanent MIQ facilities. MIQ hotels were paid $970 million taxpayer dollars for accommodation, meals, and other services. Those charges including an allowance for refurbishing rooms once isolation requirements were dropped, Morgan said the average cost of refurbishing a room was about $5,000, but more if there were holes in the walls and damage to beds and TVs, as you could understand. That's a fairly obvious one. We will be keeping one eye on the use of these contracts in the coming months and years here at Kiwi Voice. Moving on. Earlier in the week, one of New Zealand's most condescending, mean-spirited and otherwise polarising politicians, that's right, Trevor Mallard, delivered his valedictory speech in Parliament to a house full of children of colleagues, but which a large number of opposition MPs did not attend. I was never a fan of this guy personally. Representing Kiwis, he's just always had an air of feigned superiority about him, arrogance, bit of a bully. 38 years as part of the establishment ensured he completely lost touch with the everyday Kiwi, with no evidence as strong as the image of Mallard standing on the floor one balcony at Parliament during the middle of the Wellington protest next to the mainstream press, grinning as he unleashed and observed yet another one of his disgusting tactics on the protesters on the lawns below. Did we really need reminded of that? But that's the image that sticks in my head and will stay with me when it comes to Trevor Mallard. Radio New Zealand gushed over Radio New Zealand gushed over what most who look fondly on Mallard do. There was a sentence that I've topped up myself and got myself all mixed up with, and that his efforts to make the Beehive more of a child, pet and family-friendly place. PM and Chris Hipkins had kind words to say. Got to give you both sides. Here's someone I have an enormous respect for, who I'm enormously frustrated by at times, who I will miss because I regard him as a very good friend, and someone who I'm incredibly grateful to because he has provided with me through my working life a number of incredible opportunities that I will always appreciate. While on the other side of the aisle, ACT leader David Seymour was rather more blunt in saying, I do not have any good memories to share. This is a guy who had everything given to him by Parliament and behaved in ways that brought down the mana of this House, and it will take a long time to recover that mana. I think the current Speaker's doing a good job. So, strong words on both sides there. Mallard takes up the role of New Zealand's ambassador to Ireland, a cushy, well-paid number with lifelong benefits after his time in office. To me, good riddance, and that's unfortunate that he continues to live off the taxpayer dollar, but there we go. I'm going to have to let my dog out. Give me one moment. Here's dog. On, yep. Apologies for that, team. Life. Other big news in New Zealand that has been floating around in the past few months is the TVNZ Radio New Zealand merger that this Labour government is trying to push through at a cost of $371 million to the Kiwi taxpayer. Coffee is great. If you were to avoid the possibility that this particular Labour government seems to really appreciate what control of the media it provides them, so put that to one side and look at this thing economically and socially from the element of the fourth estate, answer me this. If TV New Zealand and Radio New Zealand aren't commercially viable, why are they not left to deal with that themselves? Isn't that the point? Even if this means they go under, that is the market at work. We've got the uprising of independent media, of course, me being part of that ecosystem, and it would evolve as the audience required. Companies would pivot, read the room, and adjust their content and models to suit. A few weeks back, let me know in the comments below if you think that's the case, whether they should be left to fail or whether you think we should be propping them up taxpayers' expense. Take into account all the elements of the potential conflict of interest that can arise, and of course the public perception, which we'll touch on. A few weeks back, the bosses of New Zealand's 6 biggest media companies submitted to a parliamentary select committee, and every single one of them had significant concerns around the proposed merger. Now there'll be commercial interests in there. Oh, of course, so take that with a grain of salt. Before we get into what they had to say, I can almost hear the people yelling in the back, out there in live land. Yes, I know that these 6 companies in some cases, will have globalist or governmental ties through various types of funding. Follow the money, good times. Discovery, for example, a large investor is BlackRock. However, the points raised by them and others at least capture from these leaders what I think is clear public sentiment around media perception in 2022. Shane Curry, managing editor of NZME, stated it's a flawed process and it risks seriously destabilising the already fragile media landscape. Well put, and I hate to say it, but Stuff's CEO was bang on, Sinead Boucher, when she stated it really makes it a very serious threat to our viability and the viability of the rest of the industry. I think that is true as well. You would find something as large and behemoth as TVNZ, RNZ merger would just have all the market power, all the advertising power, all the money. It's going to skew things. Now, whether that meant the death of Stuff, that again, positives come out of these things. But yeah, I think you see where I'm going with this. News Hub reported that MPs heard the voices of the to-be-merged state broadcasters loud and clear. Both argue there is not explicit enough editorial independence. Well, we could have told you that about 3 to 10 years ago. The bill does require strengthening to safeguard, champion, and prioritise the entity's independence and integrity, said the Radio New Zealand Chief Executive, Paul Thompson. TVNZ is concerned the way the bill is written gives far too much power to the responsible minister. So the actual entities themselves appear to be against it at an executive level. The last time that this power existed was in the 1970s under the Muldoon government. I think we would all agree that that is probably not the greatest place we want to be thinking about. That's Simon Power, TVNZ Chief Executive. Jenna Lynch at News Hub, sadly, do quite her at this time, but she wrote, at a time when there is a global growing distrust in media due to, among other things, disinformation around government funding, or reality around government funding, I would say, and influence, protecting editorial independence and quelling even any perception of government overreach is absolutely paramount. And I couldn't agree more on that last line. The perception is gone. There's a lot of rebuilding to be done. It's something like over 65% of Kiwis do not trust the mainstream media. So it's an interesting time. So as I've mentioned in the past, all the mainstream media may argue the influence to which funding and government ideology may have on their reporting. They are at least aware of the negative perception it creates and how it is incredibly difficult to move past that, regardless of how it is structured. Moving away from mainstream media, something that Kiwi Voice has been following and supporting openly over the last few months is the New Zealand Professional Firefighters Union fire crisis issue, where the New Zealand Professional Firefighters Union is battling Fire and Emergency NZ for better resources, better pay, better equipment, better funding, and better communication between the ruling body and the professional firefighters. Day after day after day, as we are probably aware, if a lot of you are following the Facebook group, the Fire Crisis Facebook group, or regularly visit the firecrisis.nz website, we're going to chuck links for all of this carry on in the description of the video once we are done. Day after day, stories emerge from regional and major centres of equipment failing, staff power being too low, one person on a call centre for the whole South Island, etc., large parts of New Zealand being put at risk due to this history of underinvestment and undervaluing our hero firefighters. Strikes have been initiated and have yet to lead to agreements being forged. On the same day as the nationwide groundswell protest, the NZPFU issued 4 notices of 1-hour work stoppages for November, as reported by Writer of Sorts, Bevan, which I will link in the description of this video. He's got a really good piece on it. The 4th, the 7th, the 11th, and the 14th of November. So details will be up on firecrisis.nz. We covered this in the past. We went into the central city and stood behind the picket line with the firefighters in support. If this is something you're in support of, and we are strongly here at Kiwi Voice, then check out where the strike action will be taking place in your neighbourhood on the Fire Crisis website. As I said, we'll link it in the description. Waddy Watson, NZPFU National Secretary, issued a statement saying the NZPFU and FENZ have been bargaining for 16 months and FENZ are yet to put up a reasonable offer for settlement. So unfortunate. The communication, I understand, has been really poor. They continue to battle away. We are 153,000% behind our firefighters. So hope we get what we need there, team. That's essentially us for today, team. That's what I thought was important covering off. Talk about the movie. Let's have a look at some of these comments. Talk about the movie, The Real Anthony Fauci, and how COVID was pre-planned. And yep. So I've read the book, The Real Anthony Fauci. Sorry, not read the book. I lied to someone else when I said that. I've got to stop saying I read it. I listened to the audio book, all 46 hours of the thing. So I have been advised multiple times and given the links multiple times around the movie. Yep, it's on the agenda. I will watch it and we'll do a bit of a review. Perhaps I think is the best way to avoid big tech censorship on that one, is we'll review the movie. Elizabeth says, yes, let them fail and the independence can rise organically. 100% agree. Tata Mallard, yes, see you later. I agree. Those hotels being retained as part of a readiness plan as re-education centres for the climate change skeptics. Don't underestimate the evil intent of certain persons. So I guess if you're a climate change denier, you're getting chucked in there. That's your theory. What has my dog got on his mouth? Doesn't matter. He's taking it outside. Put that money into mental health. Yes, 371 million would boost what we need in mental health, Crystal, for sure. This position has been trashed. Yeah, it has. Speaker has been, diminished, but it can be resurrected if you still believe in the current system. Reinstate Marsden Point. Absolutely agree. Yep, we've covered quite a bit of that as well, Albert. We've covered that story and that point in detail. We've had a number of interviews with the different groups, advocacy groups up there, as well as getting into the report recent release. So check that out. That's essentially us, team. Beautiful Sunday out there. As I say, it'd be awesome to get out and enjoy that with the friends or family or special people in your life, whoever they may be. Soak up that vitamin D. It is good for you. For now, team, stay safe, stay free, and we'll see you again real soon.